Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Good evening. I lost my hair.
You're not Mike Jones. What's
Oh,
going on? Mike needed to go down to California for some business, and so we have Bill Hunker with us here this evening, and we're going to be talking about campaign 2016. No, it's not too early. Look, just a couple of days ago on the 10th was the first day that one could file to try to run for county commissioner or county clerk. We need that. Or he'll be counting his own votes. That's nice. Or mayor, or a couple of city councilors, mayor of Cave Junction. A bunch of different things are up for grabs. And so that was the first day. The last day will be the first part of March. And then there's a May primary. May primary. So we've got approximately 6, 7, 8 months to go. And it's not too early on a political website, come on, to talk a little bit about some of the local options that we have for where we'd like county government to go. And my contention is that the pendulum has swung just about as far as it can swing in the direction of not doing things in a logical, reasonable, rational way. It's going to swing back. And the question is, do you want to be part of that? Or do you, what's that, the pit in the pendulum where the thing swings back and forth that keeps slicing into you? Do you want to be sliced into, or do you want to be part of the solution? Now's the right time to start thinking about it.
yeah, yeah.
So, Bill, one of the big elephants in the room, not talking about Republicans versus Democrats, one of the big elephants in the room is the whole idea of hiring and hiring and hiring people and working with the unions. There's
Mm,
4 unions in our area. SEIU, okay, off the top of my head, FOPO, which is the police, the Sheriff's Association, which is also obviously the county sheriff, and also AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. That's what I think it stands for.
okay.
Who are these people? And how come we never see anything about them? Why don't we know who they are? Why don't they ever make a public appearance that we know of? They never come to a weekly business session or anything to do with county government or city government for that. For what I can see, what a strange deal that they wield so much power given to them by the federal and state government. Their wishes are acceded to by county commissioners. Recently, Keith Heck said that he's going to stand as a barricade, interesting word, between the employees and any criticism. He also does that for his friends, so all barricade, the public, we're supposed to be the boss, but we can't be told anything about it. What do you think about our union? I won't call it a union problem. What do you think about our union challenge in this county, Bill Hunker?
Wow, that's a that I don't feel very qualified to give anything in statistics and all of that. I have my feelings, and those are that, like you said, we don't see these people. They do have a lot of say and sway issues that I know we don't know about. I often wonder when I see something odd happen, where did that come from? And sometimes the breadcrumbs kind of, I think, lead back to the union. I don't know that. It's a very, very silent thing. I was wondering, as you were just introducing that, Dale, is the city government workers and the county government workers, is that the same union?
Well,
Uh,
ask me would be right. The American Federation, I think it's American Federation,
of
maybe of state, um, AFSCME, state, county, and municipal employees.
Okay,
Yeah, they're
so
part of the
yeah,
same union. Yeah.
be the whole.
Okay, so one of the things I've mentioned in previous shows is I get people occasionally say, I really do care about the county. Okay, but I don't know enough to stand up. Well, one of the questions, one of the reasons you don't know enough, and maybe not Bill, but others don't know enough, is nobody's telling you. I mean, we try to. educated consumer is where we have to start. We have to start with education. Okay. So we try to tell you every single night on our show, it's non commercial. We try to tell you what's happening because this stuff can come back and bite you. A lot of people, well, I don't really care. They can just do whatever they want. And now, look, there's a tax that where some people in the city may decide they have to move their businesses out of here. Well, now it's affecting you. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't care until when they came for my neighbors. Well, they're coming for you now in a lot of cases. And so, now, wait a minute. We just talked the other day with these folks from what used to be Inland Fire. Well, now the county commissioners are getting involved in establishing new standards that may put these guys out of business. Now, wait a second. If you don't know any of this stuff, it can hurt you. So, what's the deal about unions? Um, there are reasons that you don't know. I'll give you a good example. Whether you think Sandy Casanelli was a great, I know because I was there at every meeting she was at, and she was the only commissioner that was willing to share information on a free and easy basis with the public. The only one I've ever seen, and I've been here for 15 years. That's not very long, I know, for a lot of people. The only one ever that was willing to openly share information, not executive session stuff, but just here's the documents, or this is what happened, or here's what was said. And so she was telling me that she would like to sit in. In fact, she said at a meeting, I'd really like to sit in on one of these union negotiations. Oh, no. No, wait a minute. I'm a county commissioner. I won't even say anything. I don't think she needed to say that, but she did. I'll sit back in the corner and just sort of watch. Oh, no, we can't let you do that. No, I'm a county commissioner. What do you mean I can't even sit and just watch? No, because it might affect the process. Well, it might, as a matter of fact. And what's bad about that? No, they have to operate in secret. I know when they do their final negotiations, it's done in executive session. Does it always have to be done in secret session? Is that absolutely essential? We can't even know who the people are. What's up with this, Bill?
Well, boy, that brings up a lot of things. I mean, somebody knows, and they're not. The union isn't negotiating with itself. They're negotiating with somebody, and who are those people? That would be, because my guess is those people we're paying for,
Yep.
uh, and those people have some obligation to somewhere, and ideally it's to us, and under the best circumstances that would be. But yeah, it's it's an issue, and I'm not against unions either. I
Neither am
feel
I.
like
I am not against unions. I understand their value in our society. I'm not against them. But
they've they've done some great things, but I like so many things that started well. They get overlaid with lots and lots of things over the years that no one knows where they came from or what happened, and now here we are. And now it's secretive, and it's legal, and it has all these ramifications. And what I hear the most, and I don't hear a lot of it, but when I do hear a thing, well, we don't want to be sued. And I'm thinking, well, is that the only reaction we can have? Is somebody's going to sue us, or we're going to sue somebody or get sued? So I'd like to know a lot more about the inference there. I do know that in times where the unions have been challenged, maybe is a good word, that there was a lot of angst and a lot of anger during those times over what I don't know, because this was before I was involved.
well,
And
we've covered some of that in our show. One of the things that happened is that about half the employees of the county were put into private enterprise, about half of them, and it had to do with health services. And so the thing that happened is a fellow by the name of Kent Granite. This was a matter of public record. It wasn't just an executive session. He actually said to them at one point, well, the reason we're going to take a certain step here is because you decided to go out on strike. And so this is punitive. Oh, boy, did the county get in a lot of trouble. It cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines alone because this guy told them that the reason they're doing this is to try to break the strike. Hey, oh boy, that's really illegal. So, but think we've said on this show many times is the pendulum swings to a certain amount and then it starts coming back. So the question is, Is it absolutely impossible to work with environmentalists? Is it absolutely impossible to work with unions? Is it absolutely impossible to work with Southern Oregon Resource Alliance? Is it absolutely impossible to work with the Republican Party? I don't think so. None of those things. But most organizations will do pretty much whatever you let them get away with. To be honest, that's not a nice way to put it, but I think it's probably true. Whatever they can do and you're willing to accede to, well, what a stupid union leadership it would be if there was an opportunity to do something more for their membership and they didn't try to take advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
now you're all crooked.
Am I all crooked?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. So one of the questions is, can we get somebody like Julian Silva? I think that's his name. Yeah. He's with AFSCME, I believe. And he seems like a good guy. And is it possible that we can see just a little bit more of this guy? Tell us what some of your motivations are. Let's there's no reason to be secretive, is there? Can we start talking about the ways we can work together well, never work together? Well, that's different. But do you ask, can we do this? I got a perfect example, what I think is a perfect example. And this fellow I'm talking about is not even a union employee. But one thing that you could do is to get Julian Silva or whoever involved in this and say, well, here's a problem that's emblematic of some problems we have in the county. And tell us what you think about it, always in public. No secrets, okay? No secrets.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Larry Graves, and Larry Graves is head of the airports. And you may think, wow, that guy's doing a great job. Sometimes, yes, and sometimes not so much. And we've mentioned this on this show before. I mentioned it at the weekly business session. There was a fellow that came to him and said, I think that you guys are charging us too much. He's a big renter at the Grants Pass Airport, Merlin Airport. And he says, I think you guys are charging me too much. And I understand that, you're required by the lease, which I've signed, to negotiate with me about this. And I think you're charging me too much. It's like paying for a 3-bedroom apartment when you got a 2-bedroom apartment. And the response that he got from the guy that's in charge of, that's required to negotiate is, well, that's it. End of negotiation. I'm paraphrasing. And this fellow said, well, now, can we be reasonable? You're trying to F me and F you and F this and F that. Hey, wait a minute. Now, how do I know what was said? Because the guy recorded the conversation. And at the end of it, I don't like this, but at the end of it, he said, I recorded that. Is that okay with you? Something like that. And the guy says, I don't care, F you anyway. Okay. So I know what was said. Now, we're not going to play it back on this show because I don't like the way it was recorded. Okay. That doesn't mean that everybody is a jerk, but I just don't like that kind of thing. And so, and he did get permission, but after the fact, that's not the right way to do things. He knows that. I talked to him about it. The thing is that this is a public servant that's calling a citizen who should be the boss, F this, F that, F you. He's one of the customers. You don't do that. So this guy brought it to Cheryl Walker. And he said, I don't think it's right that he's treating me this way. And by the way, I think I'm paying too much. Cheryl Walker just kind of blew it off. Yeah, right, whatever. Really? And so I brought it up at a weekly business session because it didn't look like he was getting any answer. Sure, well, it doesn't really matter what you say, Mr. Matthews, because, I'll deal with this. And then Keith Heck goes, we protect our employees. Hey, what about the citizens? And so she said that she had a talk with this guy and it's all solved. Then it wasn't long after that the guy went back in to just say, hey, how's it going, kind of thing. And they, well, F you and F you, they talk to me and I'm going to still say F you and F this and F that. Hey. So I would talk with someone in the union, for example. See, this guy's an exempt employee, which means, or non-exempt or whatever it's called. It means he doesn't have to be a member of the union. And I would say in a case like this, since it's divorced from the union and he's not in a union negotiation, but what's the thing that should be done in this case? Let's suppose he was a union employee. As an example, one, My guess would be, well, let's put him in a re-education camp or whatever they call that now. What we'll do is we'll give him counseling. Okay, but they tried warning him and he did it again anyway. That's Larry Graves, Larry Graves, Larry Graves. Okay? So now what do you do with a hothead like this who's treating people in not a good way? Okay? As Cheryl Walker put it when I brought it up, she says, well, he's an honorable guy and I'd vouch for him above your very existence. Really? She'd rather I die? Okay, so what would a union guy do? I would think the reasonable person would say, well, let's go overboard. Give him one more talking to. That's just not going to matter. I mean, go right ahead. He's going to do this kind of thing again. That's just who he is. That's my opinion. And so you say, now, what do we do about some of the other people if they fall into this category? Is there anything that we can do? One, that will follow legal standards, and two, is not going to completely alienate the unions, because we do live in a world together and we have to get along with it somewhat. Tell me your opinions about all this. I went on for a long time there, but what are your opinions about working with the unions and using this kind of thing as an example, Bill?
Well, what I see right then is there seems to be so much unknown that the very first thing you said was, could we sit down with, and you mentioned somebody's name, and talk to me. Who are you? Where do you stand? How do we communicate? What do you want or not want to know? These are the things that you know. The problem here is that there hasn't been relationships. There's been titles and people in offices that we don't know and don't see. And I think that
Let me interrupt you just for one quick second.
Sure.
Relationships, certainly there are between someone like Cheryl Walker and the unions. Relationships, in my opinion, should be between the bosses, hello, and I don't mean county commissioners. I mean the regular citizens and what's happening in front of them. Why are we getting no information? You know why we're getting no information, but shouldn't there be a relationship among the people out here who are paying all the bills and the people who are spending all the money? Go ahead. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah, no, that is the thing that has they we all know they want more money to do more things that happen to be in their purview, where they can say, oh, I can make that happen. And it's gotten to be kind of a sick system. The unions, I think, can help by ending up being a part of the county. It bothers me anytime you join something that is, out of Omaha, and you have no relationship to Omaha, and that kind of thing. But that's not what's going on here. We should have a person who lives in the county, trying to make our county better with the county people, and say, okay, appeal to that, not someplace else. So I think that we do have these representatives that should be approached and say, how do we work with you? How do you normally work? And find out what our parameters are. I detest what's grown up here in the last few years over there's got to be an enemy. We always have to choose sides, and well, you're here and you're not, and I'm against you, and consequently the dialogue never happens. And if it does, it's all so politically correct, nothing happens. And you want to get down and just have coffee with the guy who could be your next door neighbor, and say, hey, what's going on? Here's what we're trying to do. Are you trying to do that? How can you help, or how can we help you? It's this whole thing that's happened with the sheriff's department is well, we can't stand sheriff. No, that's not it. We're trying to come to some reasonable agreement so that we can have things we can afford, and they can have things they can afford to make our lives better in this county. And suddenly we turn into enemies. Well, you don't like, and do you? No. And so I think with the unions, I have to plead ignorance. I have not had opportunity to work with unions. I've been a member of a union so many years ago for only a couple of years that I can't even remember hardly how that went around, how it was. I know I paid dues. That's what I remember. So I have to plead some ignorance here, and would the way I would personally do it is do what you suggested: call up somebody. Hey, let's have coffee. I want to know more about what's going on, what you're doing, and I would think that they would be pleased to know their position rather than be adversarial, being looked at as adversarial, which
And
unions often are.
the big thing that would seem to me is that what's important, since I think that we should put the people first, okay? That, and if they don't want to know, okay, we're not going to force it on you, but at least you've got the opportunity to hear what's happening because you're supposed to be the boss. There are absentee landlords and there are people that are totally involved. And so if you want to be involved and see how your money is being spent and why, then you're going to have to know something about what the unions are doing. Now, since most people are afraid of things that are new,
Mhm.
there's some people who are going to say, oh, this is chaos. It's not chaos. Once again, it's not chaos. It's just common everyday sense. Can you please communicate, not just with the commissioner, but would you please communicate with the public? Tell them who you are. There's obviously a crisis of confidence here. People don't trust what's happening. Let's work on that. If they know who you are and you seem like a reasonable person, example, Doug Deakins came up and he was one of 6 different people who had said that Simon Hare had done some weird thing at a bar. Well, 5 of them didn't want to talk about it. They were afraid of retaliation. In fact, Simon threatened them with retaliation. One guy got up. Now, I don't know who the guy is. And when he talked with me, I said, here's my suggestion. Come and tell your story. Well, as soon as he got up and started talking, everybody believed him. Well, there were a couple, oh, he's doing it for publicity. You've got to be kidding me. Not talking about nutcases, right? So, but as soon as he started talking, you knew what he was saying was right. Just the way he was talking, we could all feel it.
Yep.
So if Julian Silva, the guy you were talking about, or somebody else from the sheriff's associate, whatever, if they get up and they say, you know, here's some of the things that are happening. We are part of this community. We live here, and here's what we care about, and we're going to get everything we can for our members. I'll be honest with you. Of course we are. Well, of course you are. Okay, but yeah, I understand there's this and that, and maybe a little attrition, a little scaling down. Maybe, you know, when the department heads are asked to come in, you can say, first question is, you know, how are things going? Oh, they're okay. Well, tell us, please, what would happen if you cut back by 10%? Well, then we'd be totally out of business. Come on now. Let's be honest. What would happen? Well, then we wouldn't be able to do Framis notifications. Okay, then we need to understand what is Framis. It's a made-up word, and how bad would that be not to have notifications of it?
Yeah.
Because we're trying to tighten our belt. Actually do it, not talk about doing it, not say, oh, we're doing it when we're not doing it. And we might need to talk with and get the union to understand that next time when we talk with the HR director, if he stays, that it's not going to be okay to get full employment up to the previous levels in this county. That's not okay. And that's
No.
what he's doing right now. It's a happy day for JJ Schofield because he gets to hire anybody he wants to, and we got plenty of money. Plenty of money. Really?
I know. I know.
Where did all this money come from?
That's the where the $1 million went.
That's certainly possible, as a matter
Yeah.
of fact. But nobody's talking to us about it. Yes, the finance director, he's not going to tell you. Well, see, that's one of the things you'd want to talk with the finance director about. We want to report. And by we, I don't mean the lofty individuals that somehow got elected like Cheryl Walker did with 62 votes. That's not lofty. That's not an eagle soaring. That's a crow. Okay. So, um,
Goonie
so
bird.
caw, yeah, shut up. Okay. So, eagles make a different noise than caw, caw. Okay. So anyway, we talk with these guys and we say, okay, look, we're going to put the people first. Oh, no, anything but that. Oh, yes. That's when the recall starts. Oh, we're not going to allow them to do that. Okay, so we do as much as we can given the time that we have.
Yeah, it's Dale. It's a huge thing to turn a ship around. But unless you start, and I don't see any starting. I see more of the same continuously. In fact, my term anymore for county, the way the county runs, it's whack-a-mole. You
Mm.
know, you just stand looking constantly. What
Oh, can't hear you. Uh-oh. I can't hear Bill. Let's see if we can see Bill. Nope, can't see Bill. Okay. So I'm hoping Bill will come back and join us. Apparently, there was some kind of cutoff of the signal. And Bill's gone, and let's see if he can rejoin us. I think he's going to try. Look, this happens every once in a while. It's the vagaries of the internet. No, no, it's people who are against us already who are trying to cut off our signal. I don't think so. I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist. Look, there are going to be people who don't like change. And if you feel, as a viewer, that change is not needed, why are you watching a show? And the other is, you're going to have 20 people from which to choose, and they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. And a number of them, look, the base thing that almost all of them would not say is, will you stand in opposition, at least give the people a break for a few years? Will you stand in opposition to another property tax levy? I can't get anybody to say yes. What the heck? I'm not saying that all levies are always evil all the time. There are people like that. I'm not one of them. But what I'm saying is we could use a break. We've had one almost every year for a decade, and we keep saying no. Can we just give it a rest? Okay. So there's the first question I think you should ask a candidate. At the candidates, there'll be candidates meetings. Oh, no, not that. This is a politics show. What's your problem? Okay. So sorry. Just don't get me started. Uh, the idea is that you ask them right away, what are your plans for the next levy? And if they won't commit, this is my personal opinion, if they won't commit to you now what they're going to do, I've said, if I was elected, haha, right? But if I was elected, I'd say for the first 4 years, I am not going to back any kind of levy. Well, what if it's a wonderful levy? No, we need a break. Even if it's a wonderful levy, I'm going to say no, because I'm going to push way over to one side, not radical, but push way over to one side, say we've had enough of that. And we need to seriously be thinking. If you put it off for a year, then people will be waiting. Ooh, all we have to do is wait for, just put it off and act like it's not coming back. Now, what do you do? Now, what do you do? Yeah, now what do you do? So, first day, send a letter to the federal government. You owe us money. Okay, that's probably Bill on the phone. Let me see what he has to say. Hello, is this Bill on the phone? Try to sign back in, would you? Weird. Okay, try to sign back in, and I'm blathering on here for a few minutes. So you go ahead and try to sign back on. If you can, good. And if you can't, have a nice life. Bye. He laughed. Okay, so first day, send a letter to the federal government. It should be our top priority. Why aren't you obeying the contract that we have with you? Number two is you have the finance director come in. What happened to all that money that came in? What happened to that 1 million? That's a lot of money to me. What happened to that $1 million? Can we spend that on the sheriff? Oh no, it's all gone. Oh really? Where did that go? Find out what's happening with the money. None of this, we're not going to tell you stuff. You guys are the bosses. You have to know. They have to tell you. It's a difference in, oh, here's Bill again. Hello, Bill. It's a difference
Hello.
in priorities. If your priority is such that you just leave a show any old time you want to, well, then you know about that kind of person, like Bill.
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, but I
Are you
can't hear you
surprised?
very well.
I don't know what happened. Did everything locked up and stayed locked up?
That's weird. Yeah, it's the internet sometimes. It does that. Okay, so and then the next thing that you do is you start talking about transparency, actual transparency. No more black maps with black details, black on black with the logos with the legend at the bottom, which is black, 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 and black. No more of that. That's an impossible thing to do if you're thinking about the bosses. There's no way you're going to accidentally make a black on black map available to the population. Oh, I forgot that we're supposed to obey the law. What? It's a simple law. You just don't lie, cheat, or steal. That's all. Oh, well, that's so hard for me. Don't elect those guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, if you've got people who are running for county commissioner, and one, they don't come to the meetings, how serious are they? Number two, if they don't know what the charter says, and I mean know what the charter says, Mike and I, and Bill was watching these, Mike and I ran a whole series for several weeks about the charter. If you don't know what the county charter says, and the reason it's there is to protect the citizens, if you don't know what it says, don't run for county commissioner. That's my
yeah,
personal opinion. And number three is it says in the charter, you will be paid as a county commissioner no more than $30,000 a year. Now, I know Steve Rich got involved in that and jiggered that around so that they could have anything they want. Keith X says, well, I wouldn't mind being paid less, but I don't want to pay the taxes on the whole amount. I just want to be paid less. Here's what I would do. I lay this down as a yardstick. And, okay, you don't have a chance, Dale. Okay, whatever you think. Okay, people are voting for some people that don't have a chance. Okay, so or they're admiring them at the moment. On one side is somebody like Bernie Sanders, and on the other side is somebody like Donald Trump. Well, these guys aren't going to win, but I mean, they're looking at them and they're saying, well, there's some good ideas there. Okay, so here's a couple of good ideas, in my opinion. What you do is you say, okay, if I'm absolutely required by state law, and can't you just see it? That's got to be the state law. I mean, some bright person, you have to take too much money. Okay, more than the charter says, really? So you take the entire amount of money, you put $30,000 for yourself, you give the rest of it away to charity, and you pay all of the taxes. All of the taxes, but I didn't get it. Yeah, but that's not why you're running, right? You're not just running for the money. You're running to be a public servant, and it says in the charter, take 30. There's nobody that's going to agree with that. Except maybe, okay, hold on a second. Bill, this is putting you're one of our guests here on the show. Would you agree to take what the charter says?
into the lion's den, huh?
Yes, sir.
Um, yeah, the only thing I would say, and I would probably want to address it very publicly on changing the charter if indeed that is the consensus. But I think that to end up saying, okay, well, I don't care what that says. There's a lot of ways to interpret it. The other one is, did they mean that for X years? Did they mean that for inflation? Did they just hold a straight number? I don't think that's ever been clear.
No,
But
it's not been clear.
I don't disagree, however, with of what you said. If indeed 30, okay, you can profit by 30, but you can take the other money, pay your taxes, do what you want with it, and you profit by 30, and everybody's whole. Now, if you're really trying to make a real living out of it, 30's kind of tough to live on, even in this town. If you're a family, or it's you're the wage person. So I personally would be fine with it. It
Okay.
would be something where I could say, but other people make livings and have other responsibilities. I don't have. I'm retired.
Right.
So I think the thing that, again, needs some sunshine, needs to be discussed, needs to be brought out, needs to be clarified, so that we're not just saying, well, I have to ignore that. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to ignore it. One thing about most people is if you square with them and you discuss and you're not angry and you're not, most people are reasonable to say, oh, I see, I get it. I see what you're saying. And And if mistakes are made, and you say that was a mistake, I thought this and it was wrong, and I think I've learned. Most people now, if you're habitual, we can't afford habitual. But if you
That's
make
right.
a
That's what
mistake,
we have right now. Yes.
yeah, then you end up. Most people are just fine. Hey, they've been there. We've all learned our life's lessons, generally first person, and very few are wise enough to listen to someone else and say, "Oh, I'll take your advice." So I the whole idea of trust is all tied up with transparency. It's tied up with honesty. I've
Stop
heard
breaking
a
the law would be a good start. I mean, they break the
it's
law.
a good
Stop
start.
it.
Yeah, it's and if you say that's a foolish law, then address that and get it changed.
But you
Or
swore to uphold that law. You swore to
yeah,
uphold that law. And so if you think it's a bad law, well, you're going to have to obey it until the law changes, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
you swore you would.
That's the way the system works.
It's
And
supposed to work that way. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's gotten so far out of hand by now over the years that first it was a little thing and then it was another little thing, and now nobody's held accountable. I would not nobody, but accountability is rare. It makes the news if someone's accountable.
Well,
That's
that's the main reason for this show. And what people praise us for and what people hate us for is we hold people accountable and we name names. I just was reading a list of names the other day, and Keith Heck stopped me. It was a list of names. He knew what the names were. They were the members of ORHIMCO, Oregon Hemp Company, and he didn't like their names being read. And when I got down to Jim Frick, he got really angry and cut me off. Now it's just a list of names: John Smith, Rob Smith, Bob Smith. Oh no, I'm not going to allow you to read that list. What?
yeah, I know he's got problems. There's no doubt about it. He's
You could stop calling people names. That would be nice. That'd be a nice advance. He's called me names. He's called other people names.
yeah,
And he's fond of things like ass and ass. And hey, you got some kind of fixation here, bud? With my bottom? What's your problem? Right? I mean, stop that. Stop. But he was used to be with the Gospel Rescue Mission. Is that where he learned this kind of language, really? And how to treat people? We're the
yeah.
bosses.
No, not in that world. Not in that world.
So here's the things that I think that you should do. One is just as a measuring stick, if nothing else, I'm going to run and I'm going to say, how about this? And then you watch and listen for the crickets in the room. And
Okay.
as Mike pointed out, don't say something like, the IVCDO is going to have to start a political action committee, because why would you get them worked up? Because if winning was the only goal I had, then I'd shut up. But that's not the goal. Sure, that would be nice, yeah, but you get to decide. And so if you don't want those things, I want more of the above. You've got plenty of choices. As I said, they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Okay. You got all kinds of people who will maintain the current status quo and worse. Okay. Because we got a couple of worse. Okay. You ask one of the candidates that's going to be running, do you think that Jews are running the world and are the biggest problems we have? And you'll get an earful. I don't want to vote for that kind of person. But that kind of person's not going to talk about that. Okay. We know these things because that's part of our business, is to know what it is that people are actually saying. That's not very pleasant. Well, sorry, it's true. Okay. So, or the person who doesn't want to admit what's been done in the past and would like to skip over that. Well, okay, you reserve the right to be smarter today than yesterday, but don't deny that it happened. Okay. And if you've got something that doesn't seem quite right, then be ready to explain it. So lay down, in my opinion, lay down this yardstick. People can compare to it. And then if you say, ooh, I like the kind of person that's going to call you names more often than Keith Heck does, you got it. There's definitely somebody that's going to be running for that. Okay. That's Roy Lindsay, probably. It's definitely Mark Gatlin. Okay. If you like the idea that Mark Gatlin was the guy, I'm not going to say this on the campaign trail. I'm going to keep it all positive. Woohoo! But if you like the idea that Mark Gatlin was signing up people on the petition for the last levy, and if you like the levy, then and he was signing it up by telling them stuff which is absolutely, completely not true to get them to sign it, well, then he's your guy, and that's going to be a continuation of the current policy because both Keith Eck and Cheryl Walker offered to swear on the Bible that that money, that ISF was not going to be subtracted from the sheriff's budget. Really, they offered to swear on the Bible. So how do you feel about that? You've got plenty of people running who will say those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
Yeah. No, it's the sad truth of the matter is that probably 60% of the people are virtually ignorant of all of the goings on. They don't know the names, they don't know the titles, positions, the power, anything. And about 20% at one end and 20% at the other, with 5% at each end being pretty vocal, or maybe 2% being vocal.
Can you
But
work up some charts and graphs on that?
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. He's the charts and graphs guy. The bottom line about all this is, heck, don't vote for Bill or Mike or me or this guy Stewart we're going to introduce you to. Don't do that. Okay, but be informed about
Yeah.
what the options are and how we could be doing things. And if you think that the idea of not lying is radical, or if you think that the idea of stop handing out gifts of money from your pocket to their pocket, if you think that's radical, definitely, absolutely don't vote for any fiscal conservatives. And fiscal conservative doesn't mean that you're marching, lockstep with every crazy conservative in the world. It just means what's fiscal conservative now is like common sense. Like, why are you giving them the money when they've just lied to you? And you're going to give them more money and then more money and then more money. I'm not making that up. They've lied to you and to everybody. And so why didn't you say no from the beginning? Why are you giving a 5-step pay increase, not 5 steps, 5 layers higher? It's a reward for lying to people. This is not just exact. This is lying to people. If you don't vote for the levy, you may not have a veteran service office anymore. That's a lie. And she was rewarded for it. I don't like that kind of thing. So,
Yep.
that crazy and radical? I don't think so. Do you?